That's right, you read the title right. We're going to be watching every episode of Sunny in Philadelphia and breaking them down. Now, this show is very controversial. It has a lot of aired episodes that can't be even shown. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comments, but according to what I've counted, there are 171 episodes on and available on Hulu. Now, I did a little cowboy math, and this is about this is about 60 hours of watch time to go through. Okay, so this is your last warning. These people are not PC, they're anti-PC. They're literally the definition of terrible people. Let's get into it. Episode 1. The gang gets racist. Now, I'm betting that warning is making a lot more sense now that you've heard the title of the first episode. Well, with that in mind, let's continue. The show opens up with 3 men talking and slowly fading into a dark and dimly lit bar. Before they even show the bar, you can hear them talking about money and having money issues, claiming they wouldn't be able to pay their mortgage, and $160.87 wasn't enough money for a Thursday. This will be an ongoing and repetitive issue they have, and you'll start to see how obnoxious it becomes, but you'll just have to see that for yourself. Not even 20 seconds into the show, a girl walks in and starts talking casually with the other guys. In summary, she tells the guys that she met this really cool guy at acting class and she wants them to not embarrass her. A man walks into the bar. I will not describe this man at all. This sounds like it's going to be a joke, but it's not. A man walks into the bar and they tell the man,
"Oh, hey man, we're closed." Yeah, I know.
well, it's not that strange of an interaction, right?
Whoa, we don't want any trouble.
Now, this is when the cracks begin to show. Only 54 seconds into the first episode. Now, before we go any further, I need to tell you about the characters. Okay, left from right. Dennis, Mac, Charlie. He's my personal favorite. I'm getting ahead of myself. I'm tripping over my own feet. Okay, with a little grasp of how this show is gonna steer and turn now, I'm just gonna give a summary of the episodes and what happened in them and what exactly is meaningful and what's canon to the lore. After the first episode, you can kind of infer that these people aren't really good humans. Now, Dennis that you saw earlier has a sister, and she is the girl that walked in with the guy. This is Terrell. Spoiler, the guy's gay. After some weird story sharing.
Right, and I don't know if this dude wants to freak me or fight me. You know what I'm saying?
He's giving you crazy eyes.
A lot of the stories have to do with parties and bars and getting people together and how good he is at it. I think the funniest part about this bit is that he's talking about how he's about to fight this dude, but in reality, he's talking about how he's gonna you know. Side story, it's really canon. So after the gang has had this talk with Terrell, they decide to go to the coffee shop where the waitress is. Now, the waitress is occurring a character that Charlie, the character from before, is in love with. Mac brings up Terrell and how they should hire him. Charlie proceeds to repeat a phrase that Terrell said during the meeting. This phrase is something I cannot and will not say for many obvious reasons, but I will play the scene but bleep out the word.
They do have a hanging from rafters.
Wow. Nice.
Yeesh. It's hard to defend that. But I do have an explanation for why he is my favorite character, and you will see later on. Plot point covered. Charlie really racist in front of the waitress. Boom. It doesn't really say when or how they hired Terrell, it just kind of shows him showing up with a lot of people. While the bar is so packed, Charlie notices Mac's cousin, Brett.
You got your cousin Brett by the jukebox? Oh yeah, what's that?
Brett then informs them that they are the hottest new gay bar. Soon the whole gang is informed. Dennis and Charlie are completely fine with it because of the money they're making. Dee, on the other hand, isn't making as much money, and Mac is Christian and is highly against gays. Meaning, these two are against it and the other two aren't. Well, at least they'll be able to vote. Oh, they're not gonna let Dee have a choice.
Keeping in mind that you don't get a vote.
Why?
Because you're the bartender, you're not one of the owners.
No. Sweet thing gets a vote.
So it's 2 versus 1. Gay bar it is! Mac and Dee scheme a plan to get Dennis so drunk and hire actors to pretend to have sexually assaulted him while he was so drunk, to supposedly make him want to get rid of the gay bar. I don't necessarily feel bad for Dennis because I know the character he is, but at the same time I can't help but think, who just does that to somebody? Just traumatizes them with sexual assault. And it turns out it works. Dennis does no longer want a gay bar because he believes that he has been sexually assaulted. But not only does he believe it, it actually happened.
What exactly did you tell those guys from your acting class to do to Dennis?
Oh, yeah, no, I forgot to tell you. That didn't work out.
What?
Yeah, I couldn't get a hold of those guys.
So fully canon, Dennis was raped. Moving on. The second episode is called Charlie Wants an Abortion. Dennis and Mac are playing basketball. Charlie tries to join, but is rejected by them. But while they are arguing about him playing, a girl walks up to him screaming his name, claiming that And that opens up the second episode. Soon after this, Charlie decides to hang out with his son. Still not fully convinced that he's his. Once arriving to the house with Dennis, they meet his son, supposedly. After knocking on the door, Charlie and Dennis are greeted by the mother. The mother then shows them to the boy with a short greeting and a big display of disappointment.
Which one of you fags is supposed to be my dad?
Whoa, hello, right off the bat with the...
The mother leaves to do something else, leaving the child with them. Side story! This is gonna happen a lot. Get used to it. And trust me, it's really canon. Matt goes to an anti-abortion organization, hoping to find people like him. He finds an attractive girl at the front desk who asks him to sign up to a rally, which he quickly complies.
Are you here to sign up for the rally?
Yes, I am.
That plot point covered. Let's move on. After suffering some abuse from the child, Charlie decides to take him to some stores. Charlie then sees the waitress at the same store while he's with his child. I would also like to point out Fox's brilliant display of Stewie Griffin here to promote Family Guy. That's amazing, Fox. Thanks. I really need to try to appeal to the waitress and maybe create some kind of bond. He lies and says that his child is his little brother in the same program that she has a quote-unquote little sister, and she's surprised that he's in the program and even invites him to come with her. We're now back to Mac, who is now at an anti-abortion rally with the girl that he met. Mac pulls a Charlie move and lies, and tells the girl that he's already killed 2 abortion doctors, claiming that he's so hardcore. She obviously falls in love with him, they make love, and then she becomes pregnant, which Mac asks her to have an abortion. Irony! Plot point done. Charlie goes to drop off the kid and then is informed that it is not his child and that she was just using it. With this now being known, Charlie asks to use the kid again to be closer to the waitress. Charlie has to run the bar because Mac, Dennis, and Dee are at the abortion rally.
Probably the best chance I'm ever gonna have of hooking up with this girl, so, look at me for a second, pal. Okay, do me a favor. If you're good today, I'm gonna buy you anything that you want. Anything in the world, all right? Oh my God!
The abortion rally goes haywire and Charlie's left alone at the bar with the kid, and the kid becomes drunk, obviously, because you know he's at a bar. Why would you bring a kid to a bar?
All you do is you try and push people's buttons all the time to get in their head, and you drive them crazy, baby. That's why you don't have a dad
Oh
anymore.
my
You ever-
God! What are you doing? I'm drunk. He's drunk?
He's not.
Plot point finished. Charlie doesn't get the girl. The abortion rally went haywire. Now I'm gonna have to kind of speed this along, so bear with me. Episode 3. Underage Drinking, a national concern. The episode starts out with the bar bustle, absolutely packed, and it's all great and good until Dennis noticed that some of the people, well, pretty much all the people are underage because they hadn't been IDing. Dee's Dennis's sister, by the way, that's like a tongue twister. Try to say that like 3 times fast. I bet you can. Dee happened to make friends with one of the underage drinkers at the bar. She becomes so lonely and desperate that this is the new thing that she clings on to. Dennis is then approached and told that Dee is doing some things with an 18-year-old. Side story. Sorry to hit you with the musical out of nowhere. Anyways, Charlie and Mac are sitting around sniffing glue, and they get a call from a girl they met at the bar that was also underage, which calls them to come to a party. And when they come to the party, they are asked to supply drinks, and they do supply, because you know, the only thing that these guys want more than having fun is women. Lots of women. Dee shows up at the same party. Wow, these plot lines are now mixing. They party through the night, staying in the house, literally all night until morning. And Dee wakes up and wakes the boys up and tells them, we gotta leave. Dee admits that she was asked to prom by a high schooler. That's when Charlie also admits that he was asked to prom by another high schooler. The person that told Dennis that his sister was messing around with an 18-year-old high school student was also an 18-year-old high school student that was trying to mess with Dennis. So therefore, after being rejected the first time, she shows up at his door. As any normal 18-year-old woman would do, she tries to seduce him into going to the prom with her, but is rejected quickly. She then gives him an ultimatum, either go to the prom with her,
Or I can tell the police that you're serving underage kids.
yeah, what she said. Anyways, moving on. They decide to all 3 throw a pre-prom party at the bar. So let's go ahead and review the end of the episode. During the party, Dee and Dennis's prom dates leave them for each other, if that makes any sense, leaving Charlie with the only one that has a date, still going to the prom and following through, which ends kind of like this. Episode 4. Charlie has cancer. Dennis comes over to Charlie's apartment, and learns that Charlie might have cancer via Charlie. Dennis then goes and tells the rest of the gang that Charlie has cancer. Dennis and Mac come up with an idea to get Charlie a girl. Mac lounges around the bar and after a while comes back saying that he found the perfect girl for Charlie. Dennis then says this.
That's great, Mac.
Good work, Mac.
That's a dude.
In the meantime, Charlie is stalking the waitress, you know, as he does. But also at the same time, Dennis has the idea to pair up the waitress and Charlie. Dennis asks for Dee's help, but she rejects him, and so he finally goes to Mac and asks him, which this also sets off a side story. Dennis walks into the apartment trying to talk to Mac, but he's humbly greeted by Carmen. You know.
The cans. Yeah, that's Eric Vysotsky's cousin, Carmen, right?
Yeah.
And I ain't gonna speak too much on this one, but here's this. Moving back onto the same story, Mac tries to convince her by paying her, treating her like a hooker / prostitute, which is...
Well, Dennis was thinking that might help convince you to sleep with our friend Charlie.
Gross. $250.
Deal.
I really don't know why she even verbally agreed to that. The waitress then asks Charlie on a date, and they go on a date where he spends a lot of money on her. Charlie walks into the bar feeling very happy and goes to the bathroom. Dennis follows to question him about his happiness, acting very, you know, oblivious. Charlie then tells him that everything's working with the waitress, and that, well, the Charlie special, he lied, he never had cancer. Then Dennis learns that she didn't even have sex with him like they paid her to. Which, you know, is starting to make sense why she verbally agreed now. Episode 5, Gun Fever. It opens up with Mac and Dennis entering the bar being told that there's been a breaking and entering. Their safe had been stolen. With that being said, they jump to the most logical conclusion.
Okay, I think it's clear what needs to happen.
What?
We need to buy a gun.
I am going to be glazing over this episode because it is kind of just an episode of them going crazy about a gun. They do get a gun. Mac and Dennis believe they know who broke into the bar, which is Dee's boyfriend, who's super rich. But Charlie has a different plan and uses it for personal gain. He uses it to get out of rent. Charlie ends up giving them back the gun, and they confront the guy that they believe to be the robber. Yet did they know that he's packing too. After this, Dennis, Mac, and Dee go to the bar. Dennis messages the guy and tells him to show up. They wait and someone enters the bar and Dennis shoots ferociously at them. Turns out it was Charlie and he shot him in the ear. Good job, Dennis. Turns out the whole time Charlie had been stealing the money because he had been low on money for rent. Looky there. Episode 6. The gang finds a dead guy. An old man is asleep in the bar, at least what they think to be asleep. Mac tries to poke him awake with a stick, and he happens to be dead and is then taken away. Dennis and Mac then lie to the girl that is the granddaughter that came to the pub and said that they were really close with the man. Side story. Turns out Dee is really scared of old people, and by seeing the guy dead, reminded of her grandpa that she never got to speak to because she was too scared, his oldness, I guess. She confides in Charlie and asks for his help. He obliges and goes to the nursing home with her to visit their grandfather. She then chickens out and leaves Charlie to speak to the grandfather alone. I'm going to summarize this as best as I can. The grandfather mistakes Charlie for Dennis and then tells him about his past and tells him about all this stuff. And Charlie finds out that Dennis and Dee's granddad was a Nazi. Back to the main story, the guy that died in the bar, the granddaughter, the one they told the lie to, Mac and Dennis, they both devolved to competing over the granddaughter and trying to prove that one of them knows him better, even going as far as to say, setting up the funeral, writing eulogy and obituary. Dennis eventually wins over the favor of the girl, causing Mac to drift over to Charlie's scene of where he found, well, you know, the Nazism. Mac and Charlie eventually find the Nazi paraphernalia that the grandfather had left over, which this no doubtedly leads to my favorite scene in this whole season. This is them trying to sell the Nazi paraphernalia to a museum.
How much will you give us for it?
Nothing.
Nothing, or...
I plan to call the police the minute you guys leave my office.
Dee is still trying to face her fear of old people, which is still not going well. She still can't talk to her grandfather without throwing up. Back to the Nazism, they decide to burn all of the Nazi paraphernalia. While they're burning it, Dennis comes up to them, clueless, wondering what they're burning. They decide not to tell him and just say garbage. Until Dennis begins bragging about how the girl won in his favor, and, well, yeah, this.
Great. Yeah. Great for you. You must be really proud of yourself. Awesome. Your grandfather's a Nazi.
Episode 7. Charlie Got Molested. The gang is at the bar and they read in the newspaper that one of their old PE teachers is a child predator. This is when we're introduced to the McDoyles. The two McDoyle boys are the ones that came out calling him a sexual predator and reporting him to the police. Now before I get ahead of myself, side story! While Charlie acts weird while trying to figure out why that the McDoyles had accused him of this, Dennis and Dee are convinced that Charlie is the one that got molested. Now, Mac really has a different approach. He's wondering why he wasn't molested. Turns out the McDoyles were lying for a big payday, and yeah, that's really the whole episode. I will say there are a couple funny scenes where Matt goes to the gym teacher's house and tries to get him to sexually assault him. Oh, I forgot to mention, they also tell everybody that Charlie got molested, and the McDoyles even make Charlie get in on it. So he kind of has to. I know I've never really made content like this before, but I really hope you enjoyed it. This was me reviewing the season 1 of It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. If this is received well, then I plan to put out more with more seasons and longer videos. But for now, we'll have to do with this. I hope you guys enjoyed. Like and subscribe if you haven't already. And I forgot my name. I forgot where I'm from. You gotta help me. You've got to.